when do I do my morning time? Is it a different time every day or the same time every day? And that depends on how you define time. um, I do it when I wake up. So when I wake up, my morning time is what I do first, and it always consists of the 3 C's: coffee, content, and clarity. That's my goal. When I wake up in the morning, I want to anchor into my caffeine and whatever content uplifts me at that time. And as I've gone through the years of this process, it has definitely evolved over time. Like, I spent probably close to 3 or 4 years listening to Abraham Hicks every single morning, minus those 20 mornings I mentioned in the very first part of this series. But after that, it wasn't that I didn't still love Abraham, and I've gone back many, many, many times. And it's kind of one of those like surefire things for me. Like, if I am feeling myself kind of off balance, then I'll go back to Abraham for a few days, and it's usually all I need to feel like the ship gets righted. But these last few years, like, I definitely have widened the variety of what kind of content I listen to and exactly what does that consist of. It seems to go in waves, and it's extremely intuitive with what it is. Like, for example, last month I was extremely obsessed with StrengthsFinder, and so all I listened to, like, I didn't listen to any other content for like a solid month. I only listened to episodes of the Theme Thursday podcast for a solid month. Other times I'll like binge watch scammer documentaries. Like, you know, just that's what I'm very curious about. There was a phase in the summer of, I think it was 2020, in the summer/fall of 2020, where I could not get enough documentaries about all of the times the stock market has crashed and different economic recessions and depressions, and just like watching all I could about that. That was my morning time. That was like what my soul was hungry for. I'm like, whatever, you weirdo, let's get into it. That's fine. Like, I went through a phase where I was watching videos on near death experiences, or like whatever it's called when you die and come back, you know? So yeah, it's just kind of like whatever I'm curious for now. And I do know that some of it is more uplifting than others. And sometimes what I'm binging or what I'm consuming for content in the mornings, it's not the most uplifting stuff. And it's usually in those spaces where I can recognize, after like a week or two of falling into a rabbit hole like that, I can feel my energy destabilizing. So I'll go back to Abraham for a few mornings, and then I'm good to go. And just because I go back to Abraham for a few mornings, that just means like I might listen to a couple Abraham videos and then go listen to my scammer documentaries or true crime or whatever it is that I'm falling down the rabbit hole on this time. Learning for me personally is another part of that anchor of my morning time. Like, what do I want to do first and foremost? Coffee, content, clarity. And in that process is almost always I'm learning something, I'm having some kind of dots connecting, I'm having some kind of clarity that I didn't have before. And it's like, once I can get to the clarity that I didn't have before, then I'm ready to go into the world. So I do technically wake up at a different time every day. I don't use an alarm clock. My body is my alarm clock, and when it's done sleeping, it wakes up. So that's when I'm awake, and that's when I do my morning time. And then it's also like a different time span every day, especially now where like a lot of like this recording is a perfect example of I'm sitting in my morning time right now. I'm doing this recording and I made my notes for it and I'm thinking about this subject because it's fun for me and this is me in my morning time, finding my clarity, sourcing my energy, having my fun. This is my creativity. You might dance or paint or draw or cook or I mean you could do anything to be creative. This is me being creative. So many of my podcast episodes, my videos, my voice recordings, like I also like respond to my social friends a lot during this morning time space. So I really just let my energy flow how it feels good. And for me, talking feels really good. So usually in my morning time, there is some sort of verbal expression also happening in some form or fashion. And I guess the last thing I'll say as far as like the length of time, like there is no set length of time. I just do it until it's, kind of fades into the next thing. Like it'll just fade into my workday or like, I'll use it to get myself excited for what I'm going to have to do in my workday or what I get to do in my workday. So like use it to kind of get some excited momentum going on that. And then if I do need to be somewhere, like let's say I have to be somewhere before like 10 a.m. or like there was a situation last summer where I had to be there at 10 plus it's a 2-hour drive, so like I was leaving my house at like 7:30 a.m., which is like the earliest that it's been in a long time. This is very rare when I have to like confine it like this, but my general idea is that I need to be up for like at least a couple hours probably, having coffee, eat my breakfast, find some clarity, anchor into myself before I come into contact with anybody who needs anything from me. And it's like after my morning time, or, once I'm done with that part of my day and I do move out into the rest of my day, I am more than happy to generously give away any excess energy that I have floating around my grid. For me, that's why I do my morning time in the morning. I don't think you necessarily have to. You could spend time in the evening focusing on yourself if you will. I won't. I have a horrible habit of like, once I get into work, once I get into other people, it's like I will stay focused on them. It's so much easier for me, I think, to like just be entertained by what's going on around me or something outside of myself than it is to look inward. And so if I don't do it in the morning, I'll focus outside of myself until I'm exhausted and then I go to bed and then I wake up and it's tomorrow. And so it's like I didn't do any morning time that day. I didn't do any self-care that day because I skipped it in the morning and I never went back. And so if you are a person that can go back at the end of the day or you want to carve it out in the middle of the day, I don't see why you couldn't do that. For me, it works best when I do it first and foremost and it's like out of the way. And then no matter whatever else happens today, I know for sure I've already done that and I don't even have to think about it. If my obligations and responsibilities and everything else that I want to accomplish for today take me right up to my last waking moment, that's no big deal because I'm already taken care of. My energy is already stabilized as best I can, spending the little chunk of time that I wanted to spend today. Yeah, so that is my 2 cents on the when piece. I think the more flexible, the easier time you're going to have showing up to it, at least for a little bit, every single day.